13th, 2017. The time is 7:15 p.m. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I'd first like to start by asking our members starting to my right to introduce themselves.
Ed Bell.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
And I am Donald Webb, the President. Jay is absent tonight. First, would like to start off the meeting with asking for comments or approval of the August 10th, 2017 meeting minutes. If there are no comments, I'd ask for a motion to approve them.
I'll make said motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Next thing on our agenda is payment of the bills. Since last time, we have Tim Showalter for $450. Tim tapes our meetings, and those will cover in, I think, three meetings, the last three. And then we have Crossroads Engineers for $15,600 and $6,850. Our monthly sewer bill of $15. And then Boardman Enterprises, $805. Those were the folks we entered into agreement with on the mayor to pay for beautification of our fine city. And then Lewis Capps, Robert Run, our lawyer, $383.10. That totals $24,103.10. I would ask if there are no questions for a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The bills, paying the bills are approved. First up will be Kevin with our ongoing project that everybody's incredibly excited about.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here again. Tonight we're submitting our final master plan booklet based on everything we went over last week, or last month, I should say. And we finalized some of the drawings, detail them out a little more, and then compile the booklet. I know you all have a copy. Everybody have their own? Looks like everybody does, yeah. We also brought the old boards with us that if the mayor wants them, we'll leave them behind tonight. So you've got all the boards, then up to date. Okay, great, we'll leave those. If you remember, we went through other drawings that were this size last time.
Right.
They're this size this time. Much easier to put together and make a booklet out of it that way. Biggest difference we've had, if you remember, we kind of narrowed it down. We were looking at the curved bridge as one of the primaries, and then, of course, the follow the edge of the bridge and a little hex is in the primary list also. So what we've done, we've studied, as Don recommended, this one, and I believe these two. And we've included those in our new final sketches. Now, the rendering that David here prepared, also, we only brought one new board. The other renderings are all in the booklet in the smaller format. But I don't know if you can see from where you're sitting. I can bring this over closer here in a second. But we utilize the rendition of the smaller monument up on Emerson on top of the exit ramp. We have the handout drawings that were kind of styled after your existing monuments downtown or the original streetscape on Emerson over there, kind of in the railroad yard theme, if you will. So the new sketches we're showing here in the small book are taken from that example and then refined a little more design-wise, material-wise. The first several pages here in the master plan book are what you've already seen. When you get back to page 12 and 13 in this new book, page 13 shows like a bird's eye view of the interchange utilizing the round sign, which is what this board is showing. It's got the stone paver slope edge with the small little lights on the slope itself, and then between the two exit ramps in both directions are the little upright glow lights, if you will, kind of lead your way up, with the smaller monument then being up near Emerson, like the master plan showed it. Actually, it's on that lower sketch down there, that, which are still part of your booklet, but shown here at the big scale. That's what we think it can look like if we go forward with that concept with this look. It's got the tree groves on either side also that alternate with the look. Now, if you turn to page 14 and 15, again, this rendering shows up on 14. Then on 15, it's showing the alternate bridge sign types, just so you get a view of, to help maybe determine either tonight or sometime soon which ones you really prefer before we move into any further steps of developing the project. When we go to page 16 and 17, these are some close-ups of the smaller monument sign that would be up by Emerson. Page 16 is a night view, if you will, of some planters in it. We're showing really kind of a steel structure and the roof trellis, if you will. It's an open air, but we're using recycled railroad rails. So it'd be real steel rails, hopefully gotten fairly inexpensively and just cut to fit. And it would have that tie back to the whole railroad industry, if you will. Utilizing basically your existing Beech Grove logo as part of the sign. Obviously, it'd be lit. The sketches there on page 17 are just another view, the top one, and another one, kind of a morning view with the sunlight in the background shining at it. So that's kind of the new drawings, in a nutshell. We didn't change a lot. We did go ahead and develop some budgetary cost opinions, so you had an idea of what we're looking at. Again, those are totally open for discussion, but we think we've estimated everything on the high end to where nothing should really exceed this. We would hope that it would actually be less, but we didn't want to lead you the other direction with the bait and switch, showing you a $10 estimate when it's going to cost 50, so we don't want to go that way. So we think we're somewhere around that 2 mark, plus or minus what we're thinking. Again, the design fees, the engineering inspection fees, all that is somewhat relative, but we just chose somewhere in that 12 to 15% category, which a standard are, especially on an NDOT type project on an interstate. So there's a contingency, obviously, in there, just in case we were a little low or a little high. It's kind of there to balance the whole thing out. So we're right in that 2 mark, slightly higher than that. So, and that's if we did it all at once. Now, if we go into phasing, or we do some of the simpler stuff first, we would have a little premiums where the mobilization, demobilization, traffic control, just getting that set up and torn down adds a little premium to this. This is kind of like if you just did everything at once. So there's a little variance. It's not going to change the overall dollars dramatically, but we want to give you an idea what you're looking at, what we're all looking at here for what we've shown you for the last 2 meetings. So overall, I don't have a lot else to explain. Definitely open for questions,
I have.
comments, yes.
Number 3 and number 4, the northeast sign planting and the southwest sign planting. How come there's a substantial difference in price?
Let me go. Lost my page already.
One's just over 12,000, the other one's almost 16,000.
Square foot.
It's a square, they're based on a square footage, so we're looking at 4,000 square feet versus 5,300 square feet. And that's just on the master plan. I mean, we could, make smaller areas or even larger, so we were using just an average $3 a square
Those are
foot
the
price.
triangles, right?
Yeah, that's what those were, yes. They're up on Emerson, and it would be these two. If that's, we've got these two and these two, they're opposing directions, and I think 3 and 4 were the,
The 3 and 4 are the triangle, or the plantings getting on the interstate.
northeast, yeah.
So those are on the interstate.
Yeah, those are where the signs are,
Right.
3 and 4, yeah.
Okay.
And then 9 and 10 were the triangles. I'm sorry, yeah. Northwest and southeast, yeah, that's 9 and 10. They should have been right together, 3, 4, 5, 6, but they ended up being separated there.
That's all right.
And again, it's just based on an average square foot on what other projects have cost on a square foot basis. Usually when you're doing planting, it's a unit cost plus preparation, but if you divide the square footage, you kind of come up with that average. And that's, low plants, not a lot of other exotic
And so
trees and shrubs.
The $75,000 for the two, right? The two exits, for those two signs. Is that what I'm,
The entry signage monument?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
yeah.
yeah, on a high end, that's how we're seeing it, yeah.
One question I did have, and it's not in here, is what would you estimate the yearly upkeep to this once we put it in? Because I
Well,
think that's something that.
And we
has-
didn't really calculate that, and that's why we didn't show it, but,
If you had an estimate, again, I'd rather have you quote on the high side because,
we would think maybe up to 30,000 for the entire interchange maintenance
for a year.
per year, yeah. I mean, we've got, out at Plainfield, we don't have a bridge sign, but we have 3.5 miles of median right-of-way with beds. And I think we're looking at 60,000 a year there it's more or less landscape maintenance. Now, the sign should not have much maintenance if it was built, and the monuments up at Emerson, the ones that's on the front cover, should not have a lot of maintenance outside the plant material inside. So we're thinking 25 to 30 maybe at the most. I don't know what you're paying out here. I mean, you're doing an excellent job out here in town. And each contractor's gonna be a little different. So if you wanna keep your image up. Beg your pardon?
Yeah, because one thing I'm volunteer, but the one thing I wouldn't want to do is put all the money down on this, and we plan it all, and it looks beautiful for one summer, and then money doesn't get budgeted, and the next year the plants are dead, the grass is overgrown, and then it starts to look run down. So
Exactly.
I think that's the thing, is if doing this, we'd have to make a commitment to upkeep it, because otherwise I wouldn't want to spend the money, because it'd be a waste. And so, I mean, that's something that to me would have to figure into budgets,
And I'd tell you the advantage we have at this particular interchange is your areas are small enough
Right.
that it's gonna be fairly easy to maintain them. You're already mowing the grass out there.
Right.
So if we introduce some plant beds and stuff, it's adding that to the grass. Once you're down, the trees, obviously, if we planted those tree groves, be a little bit of maintenance there, especially during the first 3 years of establishment, just to make sure they stay alive, and then it gets easier and less expensive. But it's such a tight area that I don't see the cost getting exorbitant in any way out here
I
to
think the
maintain this.
signage looks awesome.
Yeah,
It's just-
great.
Yeah. I think we all have our favorites, so.
Yeah, my personal favorite is the curved one. You guys might like the hex one. I mean, I'm not gonna sway you one way or
Ones
another,
are the
but,
ones I really like.
and that's why we had David do the curved one for the big drawing here, because
I don't know about
that
you.
was my favorite, 'cause
It just flows.
I like I like the top picture of the curved one. I think that one really kind of blends into the landscape. And then, now the monuments, I like the big one, but then I like the one in black too. I think that one looks nice at the bottom on the next page. So, I mean, it's,
You talking about on page 15?
yeah,
Is that what you're-
17.
17, okay.
17, I like that one at the bottom. I think that one's pretty tough.
Actually, those are all the same sign, it's just different lighting.
It's different lighting,
Yeah,
right?
different
The one
views.
looks like it's all black.
Oh, I'm sorry, that
It
was
says
black.
alternate cover.
Yeah, that one's black instead of brown, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought that looked kind of neat too.
Yeah, the other ones, he was trying to make them look like Corten steel, but without being Corten, so it didn't rust. So they were really painted, but the black one would be painted too, obviously.
Don, may I ask,
Please.
I noticed that on the sign coming from east and west, two of the examples are lowercase spelling in Beech Grove. One of them is uppercase, and I was wondering if that was intentional.
You talking about the options here? Yeah, it was just showing a variety of what you all like better.
They'd be
The
careful.
lowercase, I think, is your city logo.
It is.
But you see it other places where it's uppercase, at least the B is, the G. So it's kind of a mixed bag when we're trying to stay with your city corporate look. And that's why we mix it up, because I mean, when we do this, you can mix that with this color. It goes any way, any way you as a community want to go. No, I don't think it affects the price at all, because the sign's a sign. And
Now with the large one that's over the interstate,
this,
yes.
Yeah.
Now, is that lit?
yes, It's.
From behind.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to sketch the lighting into
Well,
it, but it is.
Well, I
And
was just wondering.
especially the word Beech Grove and the logo would be
Right.
either internally or backlit. So it wouldn't be a glare in the motorist eye, but you'd see it.
Okay.
The perforated metal, if that's what we use, would probably not be lit too much. We might be able to line some LEDs around the edge where it shines up it, but we don't have we could to have any flood and get back, because then you got to build structures for that.
Yeah.
And then we have the glare, and then you have the maintenance and all that stuff. And NDOT's more concerned about the glare than they are anything. And, they don't want us using strobing red lights here either, but
No.
got to scare the motorists.
Not
but-
red light.
Good one.
Blue lights, maybe.
So this is an NDOT friendly proposal, I take it, correct?
Well, we try to make it that way, yeah, because we know what they're going to expect, we know what their concerns are, and
Like that, Dennis?
we don't like to go in and challenge them with, our client wants to do this, and no, we prefer to get along with NDOT at all possible.
Good.
As I was telling the mayor earlier before the meeting, that we'll have to deal with the bridge section at Central NDOT downtown, which is separate from the Greenfield. They control all the bridges, so, and we know them. In fact, I used to work with one of them, some projects that she's in charge. And they're pretty cooperative and pretty flexible, but there's strict federal and state guidelines we got to go by, and she won't bend on those, and we don't want to try to get her to bend on them, so.
Well, I guess my next question is, and I'm sure it's probably the board's, is we all are kind of excited about this and like it and think it'd be a beautiful enhancement for our city, but again, it's like wanting a brand-new car. When you look at the sticker, you're in a little bit of shock. I don't think it's huge, because again, I see how it's broken up, but how would we proceed from here? Because we don't know. I mean, I know
Well-
we're gonna have to get the city council involved.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd have to be a joint, I think the city and the RDC or whoever the other bodies are would have to agree to it, especially if we're talking about maintenance of up to, say, 30,000 a year, which, is a substantial, but again, I want the city council or the city to commit to that as well, so where would we go from here?
Yeah, and that might have been a high guess of 30. It might be much less
I'd
than that.
rather have a high guess and then
Yeah.
come back
Yeah.
and say, oh, hey, it's only gonna cost $1.5 million, rather than say it's $1.5 million and no, it's $3.5 million, so.
And a lot of it has to do with what type of funding you might want to pursue, because what we found on the, where we have, say, item 15, construction engineering inspection, well, that's really part of the construction cost. That's really, can be paid for as a consultant. The inspection could be consultant-type fees as opposed to construction or capital improvement fees. I don't know if you have TIF funds you use here, for projects like this, but, they can't be used for certain things like maintenance, but they can be used for capital cost. So there's a variety of ways to look at some of the items. Phasing obviously is the other way to look at it when it's a big ticket. As we talked about the last meeting, maybe some of the stuff up on top at Emerson could be done first, because it's going to be less expensive than doing the whole thing at once. I mean, those signs are not cheap, but definitely less expensive than the bridge sign is. We look at that. Even if, say, both signs were just too expensive right now, we could have trees planted, we could start some other plant material. It's not going to have the pop and wow factor yet, but could be started. I think we've designed most of the plantings, though, to really highlight and augment the structural elements. So
Right.
to put them in early may not be the best move. The pavers on the slopes, we're using a kind of a standard square foot cost for any kind of paver. We're hoping, we talked to one gentleman that used to work with Indiana Limestone in Bloomington, there's enough rubble piled down there that we're hoping maybe that price could actually be a lot less, but we don't know that, so we had to kind of use a standard price there. Because we're talking about using big pieces like this size that are basically considered junk, that have been thrown in the junk pile that might have 10,000 pieces in it. So they'd have to be hauled up and then transported here, so there's a little transportation cost, but you're not paying the premium like you would for a brick or a new concrete paver per square foot cost. So until we got to that stage and met with those people, we really have no idea what the real cost could be there. We were hoping less on that. The lighting element, we guess based on manufacturing price, and that's totally installed with conduit and underground boring and all that stuff kind of built into those light costs. So the fixtures aren't that much, but the installed costs would be, so we're looking at that, so. If we bid this, where you had a good underground contractor that had his own boring staff and machines, then those prices could come down. He doesn't have to sublet that during a bid thing, so there's a lot of little variables. But we, as you mentioned, I mean, we'd be happy to, if you want us to make a presentation to your full council, look at it that way. But I think once, if you want to go forward, we can look at, how we can make it work. We would, develop a proposal with our consultant team to you, and kind of move it down that direction. And that would, if we're only going to build half of it, then those consultant fees would only be a lot less than what we're showing here for everything. So, again.
Well, we've got the mayor and Miss Lampion here. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Would you think this would be worthy, either one of you, of having this go before the city council and having Kevin present to you guys, or not?
Well, I mean, I certainly can do it.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it until, there's a couple things coming up that the council has to do. And then I could entertain this. One being budget.
Well, yeah, we got
Yeah.
that coming up too.
And that's fine. I mean, we want to move at your speed, not push you it. We're going to get going next week. But,
We'd like.
It's hard to tell on the drawing, but I'm assuming on the paving from the interstate, we do have barriers so the people won't take a shortcut going through that area.
Well, it's on that side slope that goes down. This drawing's a little misleading. I mean, it's about a slope like this.
Right.
And,
You know how
and I
people
can't
are.
remember what this edge is. There's no curb there, or is there a wall there?
There's a wall.
There's a metal rail.
Oh, the
Yeah.
guardrail, that's what
So-
it is, yeah. So they shouldn't be able to go down there. But that, that's a pretty expensive item. We're showing these paver walls, but in the long term, we've gotten rid of all that invasive vegetation that nobody can really maintain.
Right.
And then once it's been cleaned up and done, then the maintenance becomes really minimal. It's maybe weeds in the cracks and a couple stray trees of heaven once in a while that pop up, and it's pretty easy. But the appearance and image it gives the community and your gateway,
I mean, it-
becomes really strong with something like that. But again, we're looking at a small house at Geist there with the price we got there going at that, so. I think the other items, I mean, even the lighting, some of the lighting could be phased in. Say if we did want to go ahead with the pavers, we could put the conduit in, not pay for the lighting, do that 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. But the conduit's already there, so you're not tearing anything up to get to it. The conduit's cheap, as you know, so. We could even do it with these lights, for that matter. I mean, some of the underground could be done really inexpensively on the front end and to just stub some things up and cap them, so. There are a few techniques. But overall, I mean, it's a pretty simple project. It's just that some of the pieces are pretty expensive, when you add them all together.
So, Mr. Webb, your question about the council, you're talking about, because we have to approve it because of the dollar amount, and then are you wanting?
Well, not so much the dollar amount. I mean, you guys
Maintenance.
put 2 on the RDC, the mayor puts 3, but, I mean, this, again, I assume we can try to get grants and other things to help on this possibly, or not.
Probably, yeah.
I mean,
We're
it's
talking about some funding assistance as well? Yes, that's what I meant.
funding assistance, and then I guess to me, the big thing would be is, as he pointed out, we can't pay necessarily for upkeep.
Yeah, we cannot pay for the
So,
maintenance under the current.
I would not want to,
rating
again, go
statute.
forward with this project, and then 3 years down the road, it's a weed-infested jungle that looks awful.
Yeah.
And go to the Parks Department.
We used to think we could do maintenance, and then that court decision came out in Munster and said,
Right.
based on the State Board of Accounts going after the city of Munster, and the State Board of Accounts won litigation. So.
I'm fine with it, but like the Mayor said, I think certainly get the budget.
Well, I mean, as long as we let Kevin know, because it's the first Monday of each month, so I mean, if we rule out October, and then November would be your guys' budget approval, right?
No, October is, but we have some other issues that we have to deal with after the budget.
Well, then I'll let you pick a time.
Perhaps the first of the year.
Yeah, probably the first of the year, really. But yet, they need to try to figure out, well, we've.
So Kevin, I'm hearing maybe after the first of the year, the January, February city council meeting,
First Monday in January?
or first.
I'll let Don know.
Yeah, we'll get with you on it, because I definitely want to go forward with this. I mean,
Good.
and again, if you have any help you can give us on funding mechanisms that might be out there, again, we're volunteers, so I just don't have the.
Well,
resources.
I mean, we can look into some.
How
There's-
Plainfield or other cities have done it, I mean.
Well, they were unique. They had enough TIF money to pay for everything. Well, you've seen how many 50-something million square feet of buildings they got out there.
Oh, yeah.
Or, I should say a couple 100 million square feet, I'm sorry.
All those warehouses.
Yeah, and they were smart enough to just let it accumulate versus borrowing, so they actually had cash from those funds. And plus, they have TIF districts because of those warehouses that, they're pretty unique. Not too many communities have something like they have out there. But they waited a long time without spending the money ahead of time, too, was one of their moves. But not that I'm saying you should do that, but that's what they did.
Well, I don't mind paying cash for it, but like I said, if there's ways we could get other entities to, pitch in and stuff, that'd be cool.
But they have the same concerns you do. I mean, we haven't built the bridge sign out there yet, and NDOT's going to be widening 70, and they're waiting for that.
That makes
Plus,
sense.
their constituents are 50-50 on, is that a waste of money out there or not? So, they're still battling that.
Better than a Ferris wheel.
Carousel.
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 Yeah.
More money than
Oh,
common.
you don't think that was a good,
We got our own.
they cut it out there, they didn't approve it.
What's it, 250 million? 500?
Just 5 million.
For the carousel. But I think the bond issue was 115, but they took 5 out. But, yeah.
Mayor wants to buy over.
Well, we can come back, first year whenever you guys are ready. I mean, we're not going to push you on that, but,
And if there's anything else we need to do in the meantime, just let us know, because like I say, we are kind of blind and learning as we go, you know what I mean?
Sure.
We're in the infant stage, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to keep pushing this project forward and raise awareness on it, because I do think it will benefit our city and improve our image of our city.
well, if any of you, Mayor, and anybody, I mean, if you have questions, you can email me, call me, and we'll help you along with it, and answer anything, so. The council too, for that matter.
Don, one thing we really need to do is, next month is, Kevin hasn't sent us the invoice yet. It was the contract price,
Right, yeah, our proposal,
and we approved the contract. I don't know whether, under the practice we're using with clerk treasurer, whether the fact that we approved the contract and he sends an invoice, tomorrow or not,
yeah, actually, I planned on sending it tomorrow.
Up to
Yeah.
$7,500 was approved, so if it's, that should be paid.
Okay, we were planning on sending it tomorrow,
Go ahead.
but
That's
I want to get through tonight before we build, is what I wanted to
Send
do.
it, or if you want, drop it off and I'll put it here, but I don't see any reason why,
Okay,
now, because we've already approved it, now it may be that we vote on it the next month or as a signing, but I'll let Dan know in an email that this has been approved and to pay it, and we'll approve it at the next month, because it's been
Okay.
approved. We
I
did a
agree.
vote and a resolution on all
Yeah, a
that,
couple
so.
months ago.
all right, appreciate that,
No, I thank you, like I say, Kevin, this was really good stuff,
Oh, you're welcome. We appreciate you bringing us in on it. It's been a fun one so
I appreciate
far.
what you've got, because I think if people see what this is and what it could be, I think there'll be excitement in the city. Now, granted, you're always gonna have some people that'll hate anything you do, but, it's like putting a fresh coat of paint on a house. The house looks better, and that's how I look at this. I mean, like you said, the areas that we keep clean now and look nice, I think are just a positive for the city.
I agree.
Speaking of paint, if there's vandalism, spray paint, how, these various things.
Well, there's coatings that industry uses, a lot of the highways use it, that you have to keep reapplying it. But it's almost like a thick slurry paint that you put over, it can dry clear. But if you do get vandalized, then you have to power wash that off, and then you have to recoat it again. So there's this ongoing recoating. If
Scraping the.
No, it's set up, we've used it on some state parks projects where there were special areas you just didn't want to ever have to scrape off. I don't think NDOT uses it too much, because you see they just paint over stuff, so you see the different color. But when it's something critical, there is I can't remember what you call it right now, and it's not really inexpensive, but it does protect your investment, basically. And hopefully you wouldn't have to redo it too often. But once you power wash the spray paint off, then you got to recoat it. It's not a permanent thing.
Any
Okay.
other questions, guys? The audience? Lamp,
Right.
Anybody? If not, thank you
Well,
very
thank you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Looks nice.
Thanks. Again, if you need anything, just get a hold of us.
We're leaving these here, all these boards.
That's right, we're gonna leave it to the mayor.
Don, we voted on
You
it.
want
Just those two.
Just these?
Yep.
You don't want any of that plan view or anything?
I'll take the plan.
All right. Well, we had two of them.
I'll just take one.
This one is the one
That's
that's
it.
closest to the scheme we were doing.
Thank you.
Well, I've got in my notes that the cost of it's 2.9 million, not 3.3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the round design.
I'll show you where it's at. Right here.
Right, I saw that.
That was taken off Tim's video. Maybe that's just an estimate, the max.
That's his.
Robert?
We need to vote before the commission a slight amendment to the resolution we passed at the last meeting.
Right, that's what we were just questioning.
The omissions of the sentence of whereas, and also the numbers as we discussed.
They weren't they like 64,
Yes.
5,000? So, okay, so they've doubled, right? Okay, that's where my confusion was. I thought my brain was going bad here.
So do we need to vote on the increase? or-
Yeah, vote on an amendment to.
Amendment to Resolution 12.
Is the money we're paying right now, like the 12,000 or whatever we paid to Crossroads tonight, is that part of our 130,000?
No,
So that's,
that's for engineering. The one at what you just said, what was it, 124?
130.
130 is for construction.
Okay, so the 130 is for construction. And then how much did we agree to for engineering?
Was it this year 95?
Yeah,
I don't recall the number, but that's for the design
Yeah.
phase.
you're right, it was around 95,000. So then we're done with that part, right, for next year, with the engineering?
I don't know. I don't follow that. I'd have to ask the Public Works.
So do you need 3 copies of this signed once we,
Yes. If you need an extra copy, I've got this one.
Okay.
do you want to call for a motion?
Well, do we need to read this in?
Um,
I'll read it if we need to.
I think all you need to read is the
Yeah, man.
amendment.
Yeah.
Which
Do I call for it title only, or ask someone to?
I think you can just call for the title only, but point out that.
Okay, this is Resolution 12, 2017, Memorandum of Understanding. Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, is between the City of Beech Grove and the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. This MOU sets forth an understanding between the city and the RDC as it pertains to payment of construction of the Greenway project. The changes in this basically are the RDC went from paying $65,000 to where we'll now pay $130,000. These were adjusted. The city will likewise go from paying $65,000 to $130,000.
And Don, there's the whereas on the allocation tip area that you see down towards the bottom.
Next to the last.
The next to the last whereas.
Whereas the Greenway Trail project will be physically connected to the medical TIF center allocation area and will support and benefit both the medical center and the consolidated redevelopment allocation areas. I'm sorry, my reading's terrible tonight. Is that medical TIF center going to be where St. Francis is?
Yes.
Okay, for those that you don't know, the hospital that's being torn down. That's what we're talking about connecting to. Is that where the extra monies came into? Okay, so that's what it is. There'll be a leg off the trail run to that area, which is going to be a park, I assume, or something along those lines. So it'll be benefit to those areas, especially around the Safeway and the neighborhoods around there. It'll be even easier access to it. So if there are no questions, I would ask for a motion to approve this memorandum.
I make a motion?
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I as well, I would ask you all to sign it when you get it. So we gotta sign 3 of them, right?
Yes, please.
And Kathy, just reflected it's an amendment to the resolution passed. last night.
Okay.
And mine. Do you want to give a report or?
Sure.
Are you good tonight? I mean, it's up to you. I don't.
Yeah.
If you want to report, please.
Yes.
I always like to hear what's going on.
The Churchman Sidewalk project is proceeding very well. And I think it's gonna come in both on time and under budget. And we like to do that, but that's a good practice to be in. We've scheduled a ribbon cutting for that project on October the 24th at 10:30 in the morning we'll be in front of the First Baptist Church on Churchman Avenue. The reason for there is the parking's right there off the street and the sidewalk's right in front there. So, obviously, you folks are welcome to attend. You were part of this as a commission, and this is a really good thing for the city. We have a dinner with the mayor scheduled for October the 7th at 5 p.m. at Hornet Park. And it is a dinner to raise funds for the Parks Department, programming and equipment. You folks, all of you and a guest are invited at no charge to you. 5 to 6 is a social and a display of different areas. 6 is a dinner, and then after dinner, then there'll be a presentation by the Parks Department. So if you would like to attend, just please let me know. October the 7th, Saturday night, 5 p.m. That includes you, Bob. St. Francis update. St. Francis is continuing. They're down to the 5th floor on the tower. They're starting on the north building as well. They've really done an interesting job of separating everything over there. And the great big chunks of cement are the foundations from the old building. And they said, wait till we get the tower down. Wait till you see those footings and foundation.
Really?
Yeah, so, and what they're gonna do with those big chunks of cement, they bring in a crusher and it crushes them down to gravel. And then that's what they'll fill the hole in with. So, they're doing good. No surprises yet. Next Tuesday is the 19th of September is another town hall meeting at Hornet Park. Public is invited. That's a commitment I made to the people who live around the hospital. I told them during this project, every 3 months, I would keep them informed through a town hall meeting. So the next one is next Tuesday, the 19th of September. Safeway is picking up. We're doing a beautification project over there. They just started pouring sidewalks today. And there'll be some flowers in those planters within the next week. And then you'll notice they put tree boxes in the sidewalks, so we're going to be planting some trees through there. So hopefully that will work. Amtrak is starting to, over the next couple, 3 years, make some major investments in that property. If you drive by there today, you'll notice that they're putting up new security fence. And they're going to be doing a lot of work over at, in the buildings over there. So that's really good for that area. The roundabout is proceeding out there at Arlington and Churchman. I look for them to bump that project up 1 year. So it might go in July of, by July of 19. So it's right around the corner. In November, Power and Light is going to come out and do a presentation to the council on updating our streetlights to all LED. So that's one of the things I was talking about that the city ought to do, because within 10 years it'll pay for itself. And then we'll reap the benefit. We'll save about 30 grand a year in street lighting. So the council will need to hear that in November. I had a chance to meet with the new Okra director executive director yesterday. We got the planning grant from Okra. And so work is going to begin on a plan for Main Street, and then probably in the spring of next year, we'll apply for the funding to do facade replacements on Main Street. So that's starting to pick up steam a little bit. And we're really happy about that. So we're getting some new businesses coming through. We've had 2 or 3 out on Emerson. We have actually touches the TIF district, is the microbrewery that's coming to the Main Street. That's going. If you notice, when you turn off of Main onto Emerson, where Brown's Garage is, there's a vacant lot there that they've cleaned up. Well, I think from a citizen standpoint, and definitely from a mayor standpoint, we have too many used car lots. And that was going to be another used car lot, and we are fighting that, and we're winning the battle so far. And the presumption is that I don't want another curb cut on Emerson Avenue.
What's going into that building that they've spent so much money renovating on, Dennis?
I think that's going to be the office.
That's going to be the
They want
office?
to be. I think, Ron, I don't know. But I don't want another car lot there, and I'm fighting like hell. So we'll see how it ends. So that's what's going on. That's why it's dragging, and that's to our advantage.
I would have thought that that building is kind of overkill for a
See-
office for a car lot based on the others in
And
the
what's,
area.
I'm in the trick bag because Emerson is not under the city of Beech Grove's control. It's controlled by the city of Indianapolis, so they have the say in what goes, the curb cuts and no curb cuts. So we have to call down to Indianapolis to tell them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. This is not good for us, you know. So it's just a fight. And then out on Elmwood, if you go out by Arlington, you'll see a great big parcel of land that has been stripped. And the guy was going to put he just arbitrarily started clearing it out, and he was gonna put a parking lot in there for semis. So, that got stopped as well. So,
What would the point of that be?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So that's stopped, for now, so.
I noticed, Dennis, when I was over at the Kroger Marketplace, they're clearing a lot of land east of that too.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what's gonna be going in there?
Strip shops, strip mall,
Another strip mall.
yeah,
It'll look nice compared to the abandoned stuff on the other side, I guess.
yeah. So, those are things that are going on, and, just continue to fight, but, we're doing well. Doing well. The water main replacements are going well. Matter of fact, they're almost done. And, so, that'd probably be it for this year. We'll pick back up in the spring. So,
How many years do we think that old Dairy Queen or country oven kitchen, how many years do we think that thing's gonna sit?
I don't know,
Does the same company that owns the Safeway property, do they own that Dairy
Yes.
Queen property?
yes. Yeah,
I mean, it seems to me there should be a way that we can that we should be able to start leaning on them to either develop it or tear it down. I just think abandoned buildings, I know abandoned lots don't necessarily look good, but it's been, has it been 10, it's had to be at least 10 years.
that's part of the methodology behind, planters and trees, is to try to jumpstart an area. You know, we were really, if, you know, and Safeway was just a timing issue, but if that would have been vacant, we were really in trouble.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it worked out well. I mean,
Yeah.
there were other factors, and, you know, that helped as well, but I'm just saying that is sad. I know it's gotta be at least 10 years. And at some point, you know, I'd hope the developer, the owner of that property would be trying to do something, because they're not making rent off of it, but it just, again, it's another one of those things that's kind of an eyesore that something needs to be done. I don't know if they tear it down and attach a strip mall to the Safeway to bring in another business or what, but
I'll tell you a little, that's startling. Those car lots, First in Maine, Emerson in Maine, right there. And those two buildings that they painted, they detail cars in there. They move about 350 cars on average a month out of those properties.
I didn't think, wow, that's a lot of cars.
It's a lot of cars, and the guy is making a fortune.
Oh, yeah, because unfortunately, those types of lots pay to people with bad credit and all that stuff and prey on the poor, which, to your point, I don't necessarily want businesses that, you know, charge 31% interest on a car that's 10 years old, and if the guy misses a payment, he wakes up the next morning, his car is
Gone.
gone.
So it's just ongoing. So, but other than that, we're doing all right. There's another little restaurant's opened up down the street, and
Dennis, I noticed something changed this week coincident with the Fall Festival. We've had that Beech Grove meat market there vacant for some time. It looked like they had water-stained drapes that were taped up on the glass with painter's tape for the longest time, and I'm thinking for all the good that the city is doing to try and improve the image and everything else, to have that sitting there on Main Street with those water-stained draperies, I think just sent the wrong image. Now, coincident with the Fall Festival, those draperies have been taken down. Do you have any idea what the time frame on that property is?
no, that property has several strikes against it. Number one is, when the people who own the meat market walked away from it, it was no secret that they had roof issues. And every time it rained, the water would pour into the building. And, you know, when you have water in a building, you also have other issues.
Sure.
So, the health department came out and cited them. And cited their neighbor at 419. And then if you look at the building next to that, if you go behind the building next to that in the alley, you'll look, the back half of the roof is fell in. So, that's one thing going. The next thing that's going is that, that store started out as a furniture store. Then it became a, auto parts store, and it became a meat market. It all, had the same classification of use. It was all a normal business. So they would have to follow a certain building and fire codes.
Sure.
Now, if you bring in a restaurant and bar, that changes the classification of that building. And when you change the classification of a building, you also have a different set of rules.
Sure.
So when you change the classification of the building, you have to submit plans to the state of Indiana so that they have an understanding of what you're attempting to do, and you have to follow these rules.
Sure.
This group wasn't going to do that. So the state fire marshal came out and mandated that they do it. That's not a Beech Grove rule. It's not a Marion County rule, it's a state of Indiana rule. And I don't have jurisdiction over the state fire marshal. He or she has much more authority than I have. But I'm in my position, I'm the one who gets blamed for holding up the process. My contention is, if you are going to do that, your business plan, you should have a consultant that is working for you to guide you through this. And then when you do that, you save time and you save money. Let me give you another example. The guy in the brewery, same thing. The building was an office building forever in 3 days. Now he's going to brew beer. That changes the classification of that building. So he has to abide by a different set of rules. So what this guy do? He hired a consultant, and a consultant guided him through the process. Guess what this guy's already been through the state of Indiana, got his permits through the state of Indiana. Now he went through the Beech Grove permit process, which was simple. He got his Beech Grove permits yesterday. Now they're taped up in his window and he's starting to work on his building. That's the difference.
What recourse do we have against the owner of the building where the Beech Grove Meat Market used to be?
None.
None. We don't.
None?
We can't do anything to
There's
them.
no action that can be taken against them from the city's
From
perspective?
the city's perspective, the health department there is,
Right.
and the state fire marshal there is. If the fire marshal's office sees them working in there without their permits from the state, then they close the business.
So it sounds like, if I'm reading you right, that our hands are pretty much tied on this issue.
It's not the city of Beech Grove who closed the business
Right.
or who is enforcing the state rules, it's the state fire marshal. They're sideways with me because they think that I'm the guy who is keeping them from opening their business. I'm not. It's the state of Indiana. Getting the local permits is the easy thing. You just have to get your state permits first.
Sure.
So I just think if you want to go into business, you have to come up with a business plan to get you started and get you off on the right foot, and then you go.
You know, all they have to do is contact the SBA. They walk you through all that.
Yeah.
They'll counsel you, they'll take classes. My son did that out in California. And he probably took a year's worth of classes, and even though he's been in business for a while, he still goes back and gets takes new classes on running a business.
You know, if you look at.
They'll
what's-
walk you through that.
If you look at what's happened here lately, it's like ADM, Kinetrix, Waffle House, the Immediate Dent that just opened, Community Health Network that opened their office behind Taco Bell.